The Scottish Conservatives have vowed to lend support to the SNP to pass its budget, provided businesses get more support, there are more hospital beds for drug addicts and taxes do not rise. Proposals revealed today show that the Tories are willing to support the Nationalists' financial plans for the first time in almost a decade when Minister Derek Mackay sets out the budget on February 6. They have agreed to do so if the SNP guarantees more funding for the NHS, police and higher education, no tax rises, and no cuts to council budgets. The Shadow Finance Secretary Murdo Fraser said that despite the UK budget not being published until March, there was nothing preventing the Scottish Government working on their plans now. In anticipation of extra cash for Scotland coming from Barnett Consequentials, he has called for the funding to be used for the NHS, including to refund NHS staff who have to pay for parking at hospital car parks, and reassessing the Scotland Resource Allocation Committee, NRAC, model of funding for individual health boards. Fraser explained, although the UK budget will not be published until March 11, there was never anything to prevent the Scottish Government going ahead with producing its own budget in advance. We welcome the timetable put forward by the Finance Secretary for the budget process, which puts into perspective the faux outrage that he expressed at the timing of the UK budget. With the spending announcements already made for areas such as health and education in England, we expect there to be substantial Barnett Consequentials coming to the Scottish Government. That will make this the highest block grant in a decade. There can be no justification for additional tax rises, or further cuts to public spending, against this backdrop. The two areas that we view as priorities for this budget are measures to grow the Scottish economy, and support for vital public services. We will assess any budget proposals from the SNP government against these priorities. Other budget suggestions from the Scottish Conservatives include reforming the business rates system, providing £10 million to homelessness rapid rehousing services, giving £50 million to protect 750 police officers' jobs, and ensuring disabled people and parents of sick children are not forced to pay for parking at hospitals. They have called for a 2% real terms increase in funding for the higher education sector and £15.4 million to be spent on more beds for rehabilitation of drug users in hospitals, as well as a strategy to handle the drugs crisis. Should the SNP choose to accept the Tories' support, the Scottish Greens would not be needed to lend their votes to the SNP. The Greens have called for the government to take decisive action on climate change in exchange for its support for the budget this year. For more on this story, visit the news article link.